All right, get ready. Tonight we are bracing for yet another brutally cold morning with lows in the 20s, plus more snow chances on the way. Angela, this really is weather that'll impact the way we plan our day tomorrow.
Yes, both tomorrow and again on Thursday.
Okay.
Tomorrow we think it's going to be more freezing fog and freezing drizzle, so not very heavy, but even a little bit of that can cause some icy conditions, especially on bridges and overpasses. So be thinking now, maybe I need a little extra time to get to work and school tomorrow. And anything that would look wet or shiny tomorrow morning during that drive, that is going to be icy. We do have a few flurries and snow showers across the northeastern part of the state, an indication that there is a boundary here in play because that's not lake effect snow. And you can see the low cloud deck hanging over downtown Indianapolis. This is where that patchy fog and freezing drizzle will come from, and it will be freezing as we do have temperatures below freezing. Right now, we're at 21 degrees. So that rush hour forecast on Wednesday morning does include patchy freezing fog and drizzle. Early morning temperatures in the 20s.
Oof. All right. Thanks so much, Angela. Well, with more Arctic air, drizzle, and snow showers in the forecast, a lot of drivers are wondering how local agencies plan to prepare after the mess we saw on Monday. IMPD and state police responded to hundreds of crashes yesterday because of slick roads. And we heard from plenty of people asking why the roads were not pre-treated to prevent those conditions. So we reached out to INDOT again today to find out what happened. They refused to go on camera, but they did send us a statement saying there was more snow than they expected, forcing crews to be more reactive than proactive. Both INDOT and DPW tell us they have crews on standby the rest of the week, hoping to prevent another wintry mess. While many people do have a warm place to go during these bitter cold nights, some will be left out on the street. Our Chase Howell talked with folks at Wheeler Mission who say they not only reach capacity, but often exceed it in the colder months.
Each one of these empty bunk beds at Wheeler Mission will have someone experiencing homelessness in it come bedtime.
So they get breakfast, they get lunch, they get dinner.
Brian Crispin works at Wheeler Mission. He says its men's shelter has 258 beds available, but oftentimes they have more bodies than beds. For example, Monday night, the mission housed 332 men, causing 74 guys to grab a mat and pick a place on the floor to sleep for the night. Meanwhile, over at the women's shelter, Crispin says they have 209 beds available. But same as the men's, the need for a place to sleep usually exceeds that.
So when it comes to families, you're talking sometimes those are 4, 6, 8 people in a group, a family with kids. We have a capacity limit when it comes to families. So there is a need in this community for people to step into that space and take in more family.
In the summer months, it doesn't come as a surprise seeing people sleeping in the park or on benches. But as soon as those cold temperatures move in, Crispin says some of the 1,700 unhoused people in Indianapolis come knocking for a warm place to stay.
People that are staying under bridges or staying out in some of these camps that you'll see, that's just not possible. It's life or death outside, and so they need to get inside. They need that warmth, or else, I mean, they literally may not survive the night.
Members of Indianapolis's City County Council on Monday voted to allocate funds for a low-barrier homeless shelter.
It is a critical step. So it is really the difference between our ability to fund the shelter and the housing hub and the co-located services and really build the low barrier shelter that our community desperately needs to fill in the gap.
The project is expected to cost $32 million, and according to the Indiana Housing and Community Development Authority, will open up 150 additional beds for those in need, something Crispin welcomes.
Piece by piece, when we're all working together, people can be served.
Construction on the low-barrier homeless shelter is expected to be completed in 2026, with the facility opening in 2027 over on East Georgia Street, near Fountain Square. Reporting in Indianapolis, Chase Howell, 13 News.
Wheeler Mission doesn't just house people, they also feed those in need. In fact, on Monday alone, volunteers served about 1,300 meals. Tonight, IPS is implementing changes to improve street safety outside its schools. And it comes 3 years after a driver hit and killed 7-year-old student a 7-year-old student outside of George W. Julian School 57. Well, now school leaders are looking at ways to address speeding traffic and crosswalk concerns there. The district plans to use money from the Rebuilding Stronger referendum to tear down Brown Library and turn it into an expanded parking lot. They're also changing the flow of traffic to make it easier for buses, cars, and pedestrians to get around.
Our goal is to reemphasize our commitment to safety, security, and accessibility for all of our students and staff who come through these doors.
Demolition on the library starts tomorrow. The full renovations should be done by next summer. Here's a look at the other local headlines we're following tonight. IMPD now confirms it's investigating 2 deaths on Indy's North Side as a murder-suicide. Police tell us Washington Township constables were outside the home near 38th and Meridian to serve an eviction notice when they heard gunshots inside. That's when they went in the home and found a man and woman dead. Tonight, investigators tell us they believe a fire at a popular restaurant on the southwest side of Indy was accidental. That happened last night just before 11 o'clock at Man's Grill near Tibbs and Morris Street. Most of the damage was confined to the kitchen, forcing the restaurant to close. This is the second fire this restaurant's experienced in the past 45 years. A second day of testimony wrapped up today in the trial of 2 IMPD officers accused in the death of Herman Whitfield III. Today's testimony focused on what happened while Whitfield was in IMPD custody after officers responded to a mental health call. Officers Adam Ahmad and Steven Sanchez face charges for involuntary manslaughter, reckless homicide, and battery. Day 3 of their trial resumes tomorrow. The Indiana Supreme Court is now deciding whether an inmate on death row will be executed in the coming weeks. Joseph Corcoran was sentenced to death after killing 4 people back in 1997. His legal team filed a motion to stop the execution last month, saying Corcoran was mentally ill at the time of the murders. Now, the state Supreme Court is considering whether or not to move forward with the execution. They have until the 18th to make their decision. Remember, you can find all the day's local and national headlines anytime on WTHR.com or the 13 News app. During this holiday season, IMPD is honoring officers who died in the line of duty over the last 50 years. They invited the families of those officers to a special service called Project Blue Light. Our Logan Gay shares the impact on families.
Back in the same place where their careers began, law enforcement officers from different agencies gathered once again at the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy. This time not to celebrate the graduation of new officers, but to remember the ones they've lost.
To remember who they were as a person and to recognize their sacrifice. The heavy, heavy price that they paid to serve others in their communities with honor and dignity until their last breath.
Every holiday season, these officers gather with the families of their fallen comrades to honor them and let their families know neither they nor their loved ones have been forgotten. This year, they added 2 more names to the ceremony. Hendricks County Sheriff's Office Deputy Sheriff Fred Fissler and Newton County Sheriff's Office Corporal Brandon Schreiber.
Yet it is the families of these officers who truly bear the weight of this commitment. You stood by them through the long hours, the missed holidays, and the worries that come with this noble profession. You recognized the perils they confronted and stood by them, fully aware that their dedication was essential to the fabric of our society.
This is something Sarah Shanovez knows well. She's now 24 years old, the same age her brother Noah was when he was killed in 2022 while on duty with the Elwood Police Department.
Now, every time I hear an officer has died in the line of duty, I don't just feel empathy about the situation. I picture in great detail what it must be like for another family to get that call and to have to plan a funeral for someone that was not supposed to die yet.
For the other officers in the room, the ceremony and the words spoken by family members of fallen officers is a stark reminder of what could happen.
We grieve all the things he'll never get to do, and we grieve the fact that we're all getting older without him.
It's a reminder of how fragile life is and that their legacy is not just the badges they wore, but in the love they shared with their families.
If only we could turn back time and relive just a moment with them. The unfortunate truth is that we can't. But I choose to believe that death isn't the end. And somehow, in a way we can't understand, they're here with us.
Because, as one officer said, as long as they live in the hearts they left behind, they'll never truly die. In Plainfield, Logan Gay, 13 News.
Such an impactful evening for those families. Tonight, Indiana's all-time winningest high school football coach is sharing more about his resignation from Sheridan High School. Larry Bud Wright tells 13 News he got an ultimatum from the administration: resign or be fired. This season, Wright was suspended for a week for what he called accusations of verbal abuse against a player. In a statement, he said, quote, over the last 2 years, it had become more and more impossible to work under all the directives imposed by the athletic director on the football program. Wright also tells us, despite the resignation, he says he's not done with his coaching career.